October 8th, 8:23. I return once again to my lonely blue abode. I suppose this makes it officially home for me now. The details on how and where I go, when it happens, none of these make sense to me. Both times have been in my sleep. I wake up to an entirely new experience both times, of fear and of heartache. These aren't mysterious feelings to me, but it's more the experiences tied to them that make me feel as if I'm actually living. I lived life very free of most burdens or concerns. I knew what I wanted and I went out. I accomplished it. These new experiences shake me to my core. They change whatever person I had been. The moments back here on the asteroid give me time to reflect and process it all. I have noticed that when I leave and when I return, I am unable to bring anything back with me. I held onto my recorder as I slept as a type of comfort object. It didn't go with me, nor did anything I had on my person while there come back with me. Funny, this clock is not on our own timescale. The swaying needle is quite a bit off, nearly 10.3-second intervals. The face shows a ring of incandescent scarlet. Not that telling time would be of much use out here. It's perpetually night across the backdrop of stars as we hurtle through some spot of the galaxy. I do see several spots way out in the distance that might just be planets. None of them resemble any from our own solar system. One resembles our neighbor Saturn with a lateral and longitudinal ring. The closest planet to us seems to be ejecting something into its exosphere. Neither planets resemble the one that I had been on just recently. That's right, this latest journey was to a planet this time. Looking back, I can now identify several plants growing in the garden. Spuds, leafy greens, root vegetables, the beans from earlier. Watcher definitely has a solid variety here. Speaking of which, she's yet to make an appearance. I'm beginning to question if she's even here still at this point. Maybe there's some possible teleportation as well. I don't imagine there are other spacecrafts here, though I've been reluctant to step out in the dome, in all honesty. My desire for answers, well, it's beginning to become very unbearable. If I don't hear anything soon, I may just have to intrude and overstep to get them. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself, though. It would be good to record my latest journey while it's still fresh on my mind. I awake first to a sound, and a voice, movement, before I've even opened my eyes.
We're just about there. You're gonna sleep all day?
I opened my eyes. Bright light blurred my surroundings until my eyes began to adjust. I was traveling along in the back of a wagon on a dirt road. Massive troves of bamboo vegetation grew along both sides of the road, with drainage ditches separating the road from the vegetation. I raised my hands to rub my eyes, finding dirt. I wiped at them instead.
Oh, there he is. You aren't gonna fall asleep that easily on the farm, are you?
I craned my head back down away from the bamboo trees. At the head of the wagon was a purple alien with a similar build to myself. Wrinkly skin, bobs in their finger joints, small cyan eyes, a wide woven hat, coveralls. They smiled at me with a grin that seemed to be missing teeth. Teeth that were entirely all molars, I'd add. Sorry, time must have slipped away from me. Could you remind me what's going on?
Your memory's not all that great, son. Picked you up in town to be our farmhand for the week.
So you did? Yeah, was definitely looking for work for the week. Could you remind me your name?
Well now, if your memory's this bad, I'm not sure we could use your help back home. The name's Broad. Want to give me your name again, too, in case you forgot that, too?
Yeah, my name's Sam, last I checked.
Sam? Now that's a bit of a weird name for folk around here. I'm gonna be honest, I can't quite remember what you said it was earlier. I remember it being strange then as it is now, though. Really hope your memory ain't rubbing off on me now. We don't need that back home.
I laughed. I'm sure it won't be a problem, Broad. I guess I'm still just waking up a little bit.
You do that. We're about to be back, and I'll need your help getting a load back into town for the market. You gonna be right with yourself by then?
I gave a thumbs up in response, with him simply nodding and turning to the front again. I peered over the edge of the wagon and realized we were being pulled by pig-like creatures. Well, at least they resembled pigs. They had these awful finger-like protrusions around their hooves. They might have just been hands, and that's an image that will stick with me for quite some time. Their tails were entirely straight and upright, with very large and droopy ears and long hair in a ring around their crowns. The wagon did not have any wheels, but instead it floated, or actually I guess it hovered, above the ground. A blue ring of light bounced back and forth from the ground to the undercarriage, almost repelling both objects that kept us both upright and hovering. I regret not investigating further at the time. We had made decent progress as we pulled up on their home, which was an odd structure that seemed prefabricated and dropped in the area. They had built a deck and overhang around the outside within their fenced-off yard, a strange mishmash of Oriental and Wild West design from back home. More livestock of the same animal roamed around in a pen nearby. As we got closer, a large prefab building came into view by the back end, and it resembled a barn. The shutters and doors were open, and this is where Broad set the wagon at. He pierced the ground with a metal rod. I figured this kept the pigs from dragging it away while we worked. We hopped off, and he instructed me how to attach bamboo to the sides and back with racks, and a platform for binding everything together. There were packages tightly bound up that I couldn't make out what they were. We loaded those into the wagon as everything started to come together.
Good work. There's one last batch in the house. Come in and meet the wife while I get it. You'll be staying with us after all.
We walked inside through doors that opened and shut vertically. Totally spacey stuff. Inside was definitely all the southern charm that I would have expected on a farm back home. What would be the coincidence that others, light years away, would find an appeal in the simpler, rustic style that we used back home? It felt comfortable, and it was reassuring. A similar person was in the kitchen, and I could only assume was cooking. They were green, with all the same appearance as Broad, wearing a white floral dress and some kind of bonnet. They welcomed us and told us she would be only a moment. The two had some kind of exchange that I had just gotten too distracted to pay much attention to. Many, if not all, of what looked like their photo frames had been reversed or laid down. Only the backs and frames were visible. My eyes scanned the interior, counting the hidden frames, when Broad put a hand on my shoulder, bringing me back to the conversation.
Now, Sam, this is my wife, Denny. She's a great homemaker and an even better cook.
We exchanged pleasantries. Denny wasn't much of a talker. She gave a wry smile, nodded, and went back to what they were doing.
It's all right. She don't bite. We've just hit a period of misfortune around here of late. Having your help around here is going to mean a whole bunch to us.
Well, I'm glad to be of help. Great meeting you, Denny. Broad showed me their table. Denny had been washing and cleaning produce, which were being stacked into crates. Several different fruits each had their own crate packed up neatly, which Broad and I carried out and loaded up.
We should make for town while the star is out and the day is still.
Don't you mean the sun?
No, son, I don't.
We laughed together at such a terrible pun. We told terrible puns back and forth as we made our way back into town. We emerged from an ocean of tan bamboo trees after some time, arriving into town. Prefabricated buildings with bamboo accents were scattered around a large opening, with dirt paths and a plaza. The plaza had tent tarps set up with others in the community having little stalls on display. A steeple building overlooked the plaza and cast a sizable shadow overhead, only being broken up by the tent tops. The community members were very integrated in bartering, conversing, and exchanging different products and goods. Broad went over to grab a spot while greeting those in the area. I decided to unload and bring things over so that he could set up. The following events all kind of blurred together as the hours of the day passed. Broad introduced me to those in town, all of which recognized me from somewhere, saying I was the kid of someone else who was no longer part of the community or something else to that extent. It was a strange, surreal experience, to say the least. One that didn't seem to raise any suspicions from Broad. We bartered, greeted, and interacted with everyone. Occasionally, someone's of a completely different shape and description would appear and interact. I had assumed they were others from in town until, to my surprise, a spacecraft would take off from nearby, soaring up and over the trees, back off into the sky. I was completely enthralled each time it happened, but was kept so busy assisting Broad that I did not get to spend time to observe our visitors or their spacecraft while here, even though I dearly wanted to. Apparently, bamboo and bamboo products were the main exports for the entire planet. I came to understand that this planet was an entire farm for a corporation that owned the entire solar system. They produced bamboo due to its versatility, that were then put to use for other planets within the system, which was fascinating to me because bamboo grew crazy fast and it's environmentally sustainable. The same was true with livestock, pigs, if that is indeed what they were closest to, because pigs are known to eat anything, likely bamboo remnants and scraps that they might have. I had questioned if it was common at this point. It was certainly beginning to sound like it considering my last adventure, but as we say, one is by chance, two is a coincidence, three is a pattern. The residents sold off what little excess produce they turned out after collections and used the funds to set up hydroponic farms in their homes, which is where the other produce was coming from. They shared produce between each other and bartered finished products. We had unpacked packages of strawberries, grapes, wines, desserts, all made by Denny and grown by her husband. This has been a bit of an undertaking for some time apparently, and had just started to take off. This community really was something. While we traded, I picked up on different plants and their uses, all leading up to understanding more of what I had growing back on the asteroid. The shadow cast by the steeple began getting wider as the day was coming to an end. Broad returned back to the stall, having traded for new strings for an instrument and a really nice vase with a floral arrangement. I was told this was to be a gift for Denny. I recalled the memory of the picture frames, but I decided against asking. There would be better places I could ask. The community began wrapping things up. I have been tasked to break down our stall while Broad stepped away to assist other families in their own cleanup. I hadn't been long after packing up when he returned and had us make our way back to his home. He began whistling a tune as we rode back, unfazed by what a busy day it had turned out to be after all. I, on the other hand, had new questions after everything on how things went around here. Today was very educational, if you don't mind my asking. What is it like living on a planet owned by a corporation, Broad? He stopped whistling and pondered for a moment before responding.
Life here ain't too bad. Lots of folks don't care too much for it. Ups and downs here and there. Maybe the only life I've known, but I find it agrees with me.
You don't have any dreams or any aspirations for anything else in life?
Nah. Life here is simple, and I like it. We do good work for the people here and out there. I like farming. I like my home. It's not too much, but it's ours, and that's something enough for me.
So it doesn't bother you that you're owned by someone else?
Does it count as ownership if I'm doing what I like? I just don't see it that way, as you saw, and most of our little community doesn't either. We live day by day, together, exploring what we can and doing what we enjoy.
I sat with those words for some time, contemplating on them. Broad did not go back to whistling. We arrived not long afterwards. Denny had made dinner, and Broad had surprised her with the gift. This had actually cracked a smile on her face, and that was the first one I saw since I met her. I unloaded the wagon while things were set up, and a spot for me was included as well. Dinner wound up being pleasant, if not a little quiet, consisting of a pork and bamboo shoot chili stir-fry. It was very delicious, actually. Despite Broad's joyful nature, things seemed a bit solemn back home between the two. Denny spoke very little, simply nodding her head and keeping up a wry smile. I assisted Denny in cleanup while Broad went out to the porch with a drink and an instrument to a late setting sun. I thanked Denny for dinner as we finished cleaning, and was met with the first words I had heard from her. You're welcome. We appreciate having you, Sam. Thank you, Denny. I'm happy to be of help. Is this a normal routine for you and Broad? She sat a moment. This is new for us. Things have been difficult lately. Ever since. Is it. Is it something to do with the picture frames? Denny didn't respond. She raised a hand in apology and quickly left the room. I stood there with the water running for a few moments, realizing I had stepped over a line. I took a few breaths, turned off the water, and joined Broad outside. He was strumming an instrument that looked like a banjo/guitar. He sat in a rocking chair. In front of him was a table with a radio. The sun had set, and the stars were coming out right through the night sky. I had sat in a chair nearby, listening to him play while I gazed at the stars. No words were spoken and no acknowledgments were made. I watched the stars above in a completely clear sky, free of any city lights. Constellations did not match. The moon was smaller and very bright here. Of all the big things missing, the Big Dipper was among them. Wherever I was extremely far from home. I noticed that the strumming Broad was playing had a sadness to it, and I couldn't help but overstep once more. Broad, what happened to you and Denny? The strumming stopped.
We lost our one and only boy. It's been hard lately.
I'm so sorry, Broad. A parent shouldn't have to go through that.
The hardest part, Sam, is not knowing where he's gone off to.
Broad plucked at a few strings. This was not the joyful man I had met earlier today. There was a heaviness in his voice, a weight that kept you from breathing. I kept quiet and listened.
Were we not good enough? Was it how things are here? I feel like a failure, Sam. Didn't even leave a note. Were we so bad? He couldn't even tell us.
There's no way, Broad. You and Denny are fantastic. So were the others in town.
I don't know where I went wrong, Sam.
We sat in silence for a moment. I did not know what to say. He sniffed and played his instrument.
Every night since he left, I sit out here and I play my music. Through that radio there, it sends out waves far into space. I play till my fingers bleed. Each night, hoping he hears his paw and follows it back home.
I wipe tears from my eyes and listen as he plays his sad song out into space, and hope with him that their son hears it. The stars twinkle and shine in a solemn rendition. We stayed like that for a while. Broad eventually stood up. His fingers played raw, exactly as he said, and he motioned for us to go inside after shutting the radio off.
This all said, the only room we have for you to stay in here while you're with us would be his. We haven't touched it since he left, but it's all we can offer.
I could stay on the couch if you'd rather.
We appreciate the work you're doing with us. I would rather you have a room to stay in while you're here, Sam.
Thank you, Broad. I'll be respectful while I'm here. He led me to a room in the back and opened the door. This was definitely the room of a late teenage boy. It was a little messy, with posters up on the walls and simple furniture.
I'm gonna head to bed, Sam. We'll catch up tomorrow morning. You take care.
You too, Rod. I sat down on the edge of the bed and took things in. It wasn't left like this for a very long time. Must have been pretty recent that their son left. The long day's events began to catch up with me, and exhaustion crept over. I yawned as I heard footsteps appear nearby. "Good night, Sam," Denny whispered as she shut the door. I rolled over for a moment as my eyes got heavier. For a moment, they rested just above the dresser, where they found a photo frame, one that had not been placed face down. It was a family photo of Broad, Denny, and Nathaniel? My eyes shut as I made that realization. I quickly shot that up. "Broad! Denny!" But I was no longer in the bedroom. I was back here, on the asteroid. Truly, the signs were there the entire time. I just connected the dots way too late. My eyes teared up. I had the info they were looking for. I knew where he went and what happened to him. What happened to him? I was there. How could I tell them that I had been there and what his fate had been? This wouldn't have brought closure. Even more than that, it was wildly unbelievable. I sit here alone with these thoughts, and my heart breaks infinitely. Broad, Denny, I'm so sorry. And in this, I can only imagine how my own parents feel even now. Watcher? So you are still with me after all. That's a relief. Did I disturb you with my recordings? That's good. I've been wanting to record everything that happens on my device. I've been told I've got a pretty boisterous voice, and I've been doing my best not to disturb you, as you asked. So could you explain what's been going on? I've desperately wanted to discuss this all with you. It's just been incredibly jarring. Thank you. So where exactly are we? Why do I disappear and wake up back here? These aren't hallucinations, are they? We travel through different galaxies and I wind up with different life forms? The contract? I would take the face of someone friendly and travel among the stars. These others I've interacted with see me as friendly. Well, that explains some, but why do I disappear? That defies physics entirely. Can you explain how these aren't hallucinations? You don't have a mouth as I do, so forgive me for being blunt, but how do you plan on drinking that exactly? Okay, that's wild. Your head has its own gravitational field. How long does it orbit like that? Oh, it just lands and you absorb it? That's actually really interesting. Huh. Wait, please. I know you told me not to interrupt your sleep, but I've got so many questions. Really, how do I know this is real? Any of this? This has all been real. Watcher, when will we talk next?